What up, Podheads? Episode 77 of the Podio Slave Podcast. I am here in person. 3 men, 2 microphones in Southern Maine with Anthony and Nate. How you doing, Ant?
Bigger, Potter, in person. What's up, guys? 77. Is that a lucky number? Double lucky? Double sevens? We playing the lottery, folks?
I mean, it depends how you look at it, you know? We had some mishaps, technical difficulties, kind of similar to what we're going to talk about with Phil saving the Deftones with equipment malfunction. So similar, very nerd-voyant.
Yeah, we were going to record a full episode tonight that would have dropped at 77, but Nate forgot his microphone in California and then bought an amazing microphone that is way too much for us to handle. You know, full stop. We don't have a studio, so it sounds really good, but it picks up every little, you know, beer pop and chair move. So we're here on 2 mics, and we're going to talk to you a little bit about our episode with Phil Lipscomb from last week, which I think has done really well, right? I mean, people seem to really be into that, and it was an awesome conversation. So I'm not shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think people resonate with that episode. A lot of it, I don't think the world has seen or heard. They're kind of in my eyes, a mystery band. Like they've kind of come and gone. Are they full time? Are they part time? Are they still a band? I never knew. You know what I mean? And I think he kind of alluded to where that's going with that stuff. But I am going to dial it back to the technical difficulties. Folks, we just spent almost 3 hours trying to get this episode right. And here we are with 2 mics. Tony and Nate are on the same mic. So if it sounds...
All I need is 2 mics.
And 2 mics. That's Nas in back-to-back episodes. If for those who have that on their bingo card.
Drink.
So we're here for you guys. We want to see this work, and we'll spend 3 hours just fucking grinding and trying to make this
We're really excited to be in person together. It's been almost a year, right? We dropped that episode, I think, around Labor Day last year. So yeah, we're pushing just about 52 weeks and 52 episodes of the Podio Slave Podcast since we were all in the same room together. So that's pretty cool. We're happy to be here together, and we're going to a concert on Thursday. We're going to see 311 here in sunny Southern Maine Thursday night, and we're pretty stoked about that too.
I mean, it's awesome because being all 3 in one person or in one room really makes a difference because I can actually smell Tone's breath. So the simulation has been broken.
It's because you're using my microphone.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, so in person, it was going to be a little something different, as Tone mentioned, but we're going to pivot to Phil. Yeah, good reception so far. I think people, if you're a fan of Taproot, I don't think that lens has been put on the band in a while. Not in podcast format and not in that long form. And he was great. He was very candid, but also respectful too. And we appreciate that. And we'll get into it with Phil in this episode here that you're going to hear the second half. And it's stories that we've kind of longed for, especially you, Nate, that kind of dragged this one on.
I know. If you guys could have seen me every time Nate brought up another question. Although, I mean, to be fair, Phil had a couple too, which were cool. But yeah, I was like, bro, this is going to be 2 hours. And then I was like, all right, let's just keep it rolling. Let's make this 2 episodes. So it's worth 2 episodes. It's worth your time. You're really going to like the second half because it's us doing what we do with another member who also is a music nerd like we are. So it's pretty cool to hear, you know, people in bands that we loved growing up and still love to this day nerding out with us about what they like today and, you know, shows they went to just like we do. He just happened to be playing them. We were in the crowd, but he got to play them. So yeah, it was a pretty dope second half of this conversation.
Yeah, it's basically the lightning round on steroids. You know, it's like, all right, I'm going to stop, we're going to stop. And then he would ask a question. I'm like, me and Phil are looking at each other like, dude, let's keep this going. Like, Tone's pissed. It doesn't matter. You're chilling. I'm chilling. We're all hanging out. I'm going to talk about some things that we didn't touch. And I think it went on like another hour or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's last call at the bar. The house lights come on. You're still there, but the bartender's not kicking you out. So you just kind of hang in there. And before you know it, it's 2 a.m. If you're in the Northeast, yeah, bars close at 1. So it's 2 a.m. and you're still kicking it. So I think we're going to get...
Nope, tangent, sorry. I've been in a bar till 2 a.m. in Portland, Maine. watching the Red Sox play the Cleveland Indians in the ALCS back in 2007. The game was still going, and the last call had come and gone. The place had closed. We were watching a concert there, but they had the game on in the corner, and they're like, all right, you guys can stay, but, like, you can't drink. And we're all just like, all right, cool, we're staying because we want to watch the Red Sox. It was the ALCS, but, yeah, we did get to stay till 2 a.m. It does happen.
All right, one question for Tone here. Since he's, and this is not an offensive thing, since you're Rain Man, who was every single person in the bar and what was their social security number?
Okay, so we were there to see Station 85. Our buddy Chris was the drummer of a band called Station 85 here in Southern Maine back at this time. And his older brother, and then another guy that we went to high school with, a couple guys we went to high school with. And they were actually not bad. Go check them out on Apple Music there or Spotify, whatever. They got some songs there. But, yeah, we had just seen them play. And, you know, they played, I don't know, an hour and a half or whatever. We all got pretty sloshed because I think I was 23. And the Red Sox were in the ALCS, and we're all, like, doing double duty, watching them play and then watching the show. And, yeah, I think there was probably, like, 15 of us in the bar after, the band, which were friends of ours, obviously, and then a handful of others. I did door for them a couple times, too, at the station, which we've talked about on this podcast.
Wow, that's the mic drop of tangents. So with that, here is our part 2 of our interview, and it's more of a conversation. It's more of a, in a lot of ways, he flips the script on us, interviews us, just the history of the pod. But we're going to get into that right now with Phil Lipscomb of Taproot, episode 77. Check it out.
If you like what you hear, please go back and listen to some of our other interviews. We've had Scott Russo of Unwritten Law, Ryan Sinnott of The Distillers, Frank Turner, singer-songwriter, and Peanut from 311. We really appreciate you coming on with us tonight. Been a blast to chat with you about all the Taproot stuff over the last, 20, 25 years of the band's existence. And yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Hold on. What are you guys listening to these days?
Ooh, all right. I like this. Let's nerd out here. Let's do this.
Who's going to you start, Tone?
Okay, so we just did a best of 2021 so far episode a couple weeks ago, and I'm really into the Manchester Orchestra record. I'm really into the Julian Baker record. I'm really into, oh man, what else did I bring? The Turnstile EP that's going to be a Turnstile record here in a couple of weeks. So those are probably the 3 that like I've come back to a ton this year, and I love everything. Like you're not gonna like I like the Counting Crows 4-song EP. Like I anything, put it on if there's something there for me to like. I'm into it.
Okay. I don't know who any of those people are.
Nice. Go back and check it out.
Yeah, I might have to. Yeah. Well, I'll re-listen to this and see what you said again.
Nice. All right. 12, what do you got?
I mean, I'm all over the map. I listen to a lot of heavy stuff, like the new Gojira record.
Yep.
That's on Roadrunner. It's really good. Like today, I listened to Bleeding Through's This Is Love, This Is Murderous. They were on Trustkill for a while. The new Landmarks record. They're like a metalcore band from France. It's pretty good. I listened to the new Nas album today, King's Disease 2. Yeah, so I'm all over the map, and I can vibe with one line drawing or City in Color, or we're just all over the map.
Yeah, it's kind of why we did the podcast. We're just kind of all over. We kind of reconvene, kind of rendezvous here to give suggestions. Tone's like a music sommelier, and he'll give me suggestions.
Nate won't listen to any of them.
But I will now. Although the tables have turned, but yes.
They have a little bit.
That has been a force of habit. There's just so much going on. Like we always talk about, you're trying to keep up, but Gojira for me also, like Twan had mentioned, saw them supporting a Deftones tour and kind of revisited them, but I didn't know a whole lot of their stuff beforehand. A lot of indie stuff like Cannons. It's kind of like a indie, I don't even know how you say it, kind of shoegaze, kind of pop rock kind of band. The new Modest Mouse album I really got into lately, just because it's kind of a, I don't know, throwback to their old stuff with a weird psychedelic kind of feel to it. Just good to see them kind of continuing what they've done.
Yeah.
Behind like music that's coming out, and obviously we're all kind of somewhat similar in age. We kind of always kind of go to our grassroots and kind of how we grew up in the music appreciation. But in terms of like seeing shows, to Twan's point, it's still all over the map. Like I'll see like Fleetwood Mac, and then I'll go see Deftones, and I'll go see Slipknot, and then I'll go see Band of Horses, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's the best time ever for music. And that's why we did this. We can't stop. We can't get it out of our head, and we have our 9 to 5s too. So it's like, here's the time where we can all hang out, talk about music, and even talked about it with you, and like literally just feel like I texted these guys, like we're all gonna sit around the grill and just talk Phil about Taproot circa 1997 to 2021. How cool is that?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. And what I think is also crazy with music these days is, like I said, I recognize maybe 3 people you guys just named off.
Yeah, what are you listening to? What do you like?
Yeah,
Well,
we listen to.
I'll get to that, but just like music's so crazy. Is like, so there are bands that can have millions of followers, and no one else here. Like if you don't know who they are, you don't know who they are.
Right.
It's not like before where we all know who the Deftones are. We all knew who Rage Against the Machine was. There could be these bands packing out arenas that we've never heard of.
Yeah.
I remember that started back in like 2013, 14. When I see these bands, I'm like, who are these bands? I don't hear them on the radio. I don't hear them.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the internet, Yep. And the music getting out there in their way. And there's so many little pockets. And I think that's amazing that there's so many different things that we can listen to, and I love that you guys listen to so many different things, because growing up for me, if you didn't listen to rock, you couldn't really listen to rock and rap. You couldn't really listen to rock and country. Mm-hmm. You were just, you're a rock guy or you're a metal guy,
right.
And that's sort of, you just stayed in your lane.
Yep.
And that's something I try to push on my kids. My kids listen to all sorts of stuff, anything from like, we got our Breaking Ben and our Papa Roach. But they also, they can listen to, some Eminem select songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And then some Luke Bryan and whatever, it goes on between me and my wife. They know all sorts of stuff. Beyonce's in there, all sorts of stuff. And I now can listen to some Beyonce even,
Yeah.
I've gotten to, there's some really, really great music she does. When I'm with the kids, we usually listen to like Papa Roach and Breaking Ben. Those are a couple of our favorites. Chris Cornell.
Man.
Always revisit his stuff. Like Nothing More is probably the newest band that I like. I don't know if you guys know them at all.
Just by name.
Heard the name, yeah. Heard the
just
name.
by name.
Oh, gotta check them out, man. Gotta check them out. Both they have 3 records out, but like 2 I think are their major label ones, and both phenomenal records. Just so good. They have a 3rd one that they're working on. I assume it's going to be great. But they're one of those bands that they got introduced to me on our last tour back in like 2014. And just this band Catharsis that we're touring with, like, oh, check out this band. They're from Texas. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll check them out. And he's like, no, they're really good. I'm like, okay, you know how it is. Like, yeah, another band someone wants me to listen to, and they just blew me away. I would recommend starting out with a song called Ballast, Ballast. That's what I started on, and just like, holy, this is phenomenal. And then from there, just any direction. There's one of my favorite artists to listen to right now is this girl, Haley Knox. She plays acoustic guitar. She's a YouTuber, and she does the coolest like cover songs and original songs. Like she'll take a song, like I think one of the first or second song I heard was "Can't Feel My Face" by The Weeknd.
Yeah.
So she does that loop thing, you play a little bit on the guitar and then it loops and plays a little bit on whatever. And she does that. She's like probably 15 or 16 years old at the time when she does this song. Wow. And she just crushes it. And she's got original stuff. She's probably my favorite person to listen to right now. Like if I'm in any mood, I can just put on some of her stuff. And she's like, I guess like 20,000, 30,000 views. Like it's not like some big artist. I just stumbled upon it one day, and I'm like, how is this girl not huge?
Right.
Wow.
But like again, 20 years ago she would be, but nowadays it's like people that are doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so much. Yeah.
Well, we all just demonstrated that by giving off bands and we're like, oh man, who's that? Oh, okay, cool. I've got homework to do, and we call it nerd homework, and we love that shit. Like I'm all in. I'm all in to find something new, because I know today, 3 months from now, there'll be somebody I haven't heard before that I'm gonna love, and that's what I love about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think given what you guys like as far as music, I definitely say check out Nothing More. They're
nice.
They're good.
Awesome.
Really good.
It's just really interesting. I mean, it's I think it's 2021. There's such a bottleneck now with just time. Like you just don't have the abundance of time available. It's like everyone's recommending songs and Netflix shows. It's like, all right, cool. Like I need to figure out when I can even focus, have enough attention to really give this the time of day. Otherwise, how am I going to give a Gojira record any time of day in the middle of like 20 different projects I'm working on simultaneously and really appreciate what that art is? Whereas as a summary to this interview today, like you were kind of in that perfect crossroads before technology really took off. So like if you weren't on a major, for us, you know, it was all radio. Maybe some like small indie magazines like Circus and Hit Parader and stuff like that. For the most part, you're just kind of relying on whatever Clear Channel tells you is good, you know. So the fact that you got to go through that wave, but also experience independent and obviously grassroots before even signing to a major is kind of like the coolest like crossroads for a music career. You kind of got the best of both. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, what's interesting is we got to see that spot, but we also got to see that this crazy drop,
right?
In I don't know what, not necessarily fan interest, but I remember like when we did Blue Sky Research, like so we did the Welcome Tour and all that stuff, and we would sign after shows and spend anywhere from like 20-30 minutes signing autographs after a show, and that was across the board everywhere we went. And then on our next tour, on our first tour for Blue Sky Research, I want to say it was with Chevelle. And if that wasn't the first tour, it was one of the first ones where I really realized this was a different time. Mm-hmm. Both buses, our bus and their bus, were parked in the parking lot where everyone was. Just the way that particular place was. I want to say it's the Egyptian in Indianapolis or something like that, or the Egypt's Room or something. But we're parked there with, the general population, as it were. And before that would be like, man, we're going to be signing, and it was a packed show, full show. And we're going to be signing autographs for hours. And I was down for it. And afterwards I signed like maybe 20.
Yeah.
And people just walking by like, oh, see ya, whatever. I'm like,
wow,
what's going on here? And it's not like an ego thing, like, oh, I need to be signing autographs. But I thought it just changed in the views of our fans. I think partly because now you had, I don't know if it was Twitter, but like with MySpace and all that, my theory was always you had a closer connection to the bands in a way.
Yeah.
So you kind of took it for granted a little bit. Mm-hmm. People started taking it for granted. So it wasn't as special. I mean, I always relate to Maynard from Tool. Maynard from Tool is always going to be someone special because you rarely ever see that guy out. Right. You're not going to just, like certain people have that certain something that so-called rock star God status, that when you see them, it's something super special. And for us, we were always out there and hanging out. I think we lost, in a way, you lose some of that something special. But also on the flip side, I think we got some of the coolest fans, and I've gotten to know a lot of our fans, and they've gotten to know us. And I think they'll also be fans for life because of that.
Totally.
And I don't have to worry about any of them trying to kill me.
Yeah.
Or being super obsessed with me at the same time.
That's a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
And that goes a long way with fans. When you're out there and you're out in the forefront and you're at the merch booth or you're signing CDs after, like that's typically the last thing someone remembers about the band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that reminds me, when you guys were talking on your on that new metal podcast, you guys talked about Dryden from Ant Farm. Because I love those guys. I've known those guys for a long time. We toured with them with Linkin Park, and we immediately just got along with those guys. But I can totally see him being an asshole.
I was going to say, so Nate said he was a dick.
That wasn't us.
Yeah.
That was the itch.
Was that the itch?
I'm blaming the other guys. That was Dan. Just Dan for the itch.
You can tell Dryden he's been an asshole, and he'll know it. He's been an asshole plenty of times in his life, But he's also one of the sweetest guys in the world. It's just some of these guys just have those demons sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
And then also being younger and having whatever. That is fine. You're right. That was the itch guys.
Yeah, it was Dan. Blame Dan.
But yeah, I love the Alien Ant Farm guys, and they're, to me, they with Ty on bass and Mike on drums. That's to me some of the most talented, two of the most talented rhythm sections, or one of the most talented rhythm sections. If you want to call it, like those guys are students of the game, man. They are phenomenal players.
And the casual listener wouldn't necessarily pick that up, So that's kind of cool behind the scenes of like
totally
who's kind of a savant in the scene, if you will.
Well, do you guys remember that song Rubber Mallet?
Yes.
From that's one of those ones drum wise that I'm just like I can't even see straight listening to that one. It's like, what the hell is going on here? So yeah. But yeah, I've talked drums with Mike, and he's just like, he's on another level, man. He's just like he'll talk about the history of drums and how the snare used to be on the floor, and it's like they should use it. Just all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's so cool to hear. That's so cool to hear as a musician, because as a fan, like there's only so many times, but I've definitely like zeroed in on certain moments like that. Even bands that are, you know, pretty big, like, but maybe didn't. I don't think the casual fan would even notice, like Incubus, for instance. Morning View, pretty big album, obviously. I think it went platinum. But if you focus on Jose's drums and just his work on the cymbals alone, it's like it's like a John Bonham right now, and no one even knows what's going on right now. This is really cool, you know.
Yeah, Jose's a monster, man. He's a really good drummer too. Yeah, and you just, like you said, sometimes they'll just slide by you, you know, because they're just fitting in. But then when you really listen, you're like, wow, he is doing a lot of really neat things that just help carry the song.
Yeah. And you don't pay attention to otherwise with other, or maybe you didn't pay attention to when it was big in the moment on the radio, and then you go back and dissect it and you're like, holy shit, I didn't notice that, and wow, this is amazing. I did that last week we did Lateralis a couple weeks ago, and listening to the end of, there's a spot on the Grudge right at the end where Danny hits the drums so hard in a couple of spots. I was like, I never heard that before, and I've been listening to this album for 20 years, and I never heard that until 2 weeks ago. So
some songs, just some bands, some songs, they just keep on giving.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely. Yep.
But yeah, there's a monster drummer as well, man. Danny Carey.
Dude. Yep. Yeah. I said he was my favorite drummer of all time 2 weeks ago. I'm sticking by it. Yeah.
Hey, that's not many people can argue with that.
Well, it's not a hot take. I mean,
right.
the guy is a monster. He's amazing.
Yeah, that's not a controversial. No way, man.
No, yeah. Oh man, you're an idiot. No, actually, you're right. He's really good.
Yeah,
man. We can cut this, but I have to mention it.
Stop saying we can cut this. I'm the one that's cutting shit. I'll decide.
Okay, cool. Speaking of Incubus,
Nate, we're getting the 3-hour episode today. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, 100%. This is long form. Joe Rogan, Patio Slave 2.0. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe this is for the Patreon, but I decided to ask. Speaking of Incubus,
that doesn't make sense.
one of the biggest tours that unfortunately none of us got to go to, and we have this thing called Show Regret. It's like a hashtag basically for the Patio Slave podcast. Like, fuck, the fact that I missed this tour, like my life will never be complete. Is the tour you guys did with Incubus and Deftones for the back to school tour? Any good stories from that tour?
Twan's going to get the poster right now.
You definitely missed out, man.
Oh God!
I bet that. Yeah, there it is. I bet that was. Oh man, I wish I'd gone to that.
Because for that one, it's not just the bands on that tour; it's the albums.
Mm-hmm.
That's
seriously.
Yeah.
White Pony, Make Yourself, and Gift.
Exactly.
Just like bona fide albums for that time, really.
Yeah. Well, for me, White Pony, Make Yourself, Gift, that's my own, so I can't really talk. But like,
we're lumping it in. We're lumping it in. We love that album.
Thank you. And Make Yourself was in my CD player probably the longest any CD has been in any of my. I listened to that so many times, and to be on that tour with those guys for that album was just awesome. Like, I watched them almost every night, them and Deftones, and yeah. That phenomenal tour. So let's see, stories. Well, I remember they used to, every once in a while they would rehearse, Deftones would rehearse Passenger.
Oh wow. And
I'd always be keeping my eye out for Maynard or somebody. I'm like, who's going to be here? And they never played it. They would rehearse it, but no one ever showed. I don't know if they were thinking about just doing it anyway. And it just never quite came together. But the coolest, so for that tour, I'm going to see if I can get this right in my head. The last shows were in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, and maybe one other one. They're like 2 or 3 final shows, and right before that, we were in Denver, and something like the snow got so bad that the buses and stuff couldn't make it. So the band flew there. I feel like we might have gotten there somehow, but their stuff couldn't get through. We got there, they got there, but they didn't have their crew with them, and they didn't have their equipment with them.
Oh man.
So they had to borrow, I think they borrowed our speakers, our amps. They rented or bought some other stuff. And then I think they carried their guitars on the plane. So they had their guitars with them, but they didn't have their techs with them. So like Chino's asking us to help him tune his guitar. He's like, how do I tune this thing? I don't know if he didn't know his tuning or how to do it, or he just didn't want to bother with it, but we helped him tune. We I don't know, just a weird thing to be, but it really bonded us, kind of create this bond between us where we were all just going to make the show happen anyway, And we had the after shows at those last couple of shows after parties of those last couple of shows were really cool because we just had that, it wasn't just your typical show. It was something extra special because I think there was only one show where they didn't have their crew with them, but it just kind of took that closeness we had formed leading up to there just a little bit closer.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think that was that tour. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like a survival thing, like without you guys stepping up, like they wouldn't be able to play the show basically.
Yeah, it would have been a struggle for sure. So yeah, that was cool. John, really just seeing them play all those songs every night, man. It was just
in the moment too, right? When they just dropped the record. You guys are all kind of ascending to this level that you were gonna be at, and that's pretty fucking cool.
And 2 months, man. 2 months is a long time. We had a Halloween show with them down in Texas, where like they dressed up, like we all dressed up. I forget what we dressed up as, but I remember Incubus guys dressed up as like some of the Star Wars characters.
Nice.
Wow. And that tour went into Europe too, right? Just you guys and Deftones.
And Linkin Park as well.
Linkin Park. Yep.
Yeah. So again, another phenomenal tour right there. Yeah, that was a cool tour. That was Europe though was tough because that was before the Euro. So every day or two where you're going from one country to another, you got to
changing the money.
Yeah, pull out just enough money that you think you're gonna spend.
Oh, dude!
Because you don't want to have extra and then moving on. Yeah.
Did you come home with like a pocket full of just like pennies from different countries?
For sure, a bunch of random change.
Oh man,
it was a lesson in budgeting, really.
Yeah, really. Yeah, you had to, like, what's $20 mean in francs? What's $20 mean in whatever? What Spanish ones? What they have lira?
Yeah, something like that. Italy's lira too. Italy? I think it's similar.
Italy's lira. Spain, I forget.
I think it's francs. Francs.
Yeah, francs and French. Yeah.
But Spain is, what the hell is Spain?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I feel like once we hear it, we're like, oh yeah, we're idiots.
Yeah.
Of course, it's that.
It's not, because Mexico's peso, so it's not that.
No, it's not.
Man. Man. But Euro, before the Euro, unfortunately, you missed out on that.
I call that tour our starvation tour because one, hard to find. So you have to do the money thing anyway. But some of these places, like, it's not like here. Well, I guess it'd be like here if you're playing like an arena or or like a shed, like an amphitheater, where there's nothing around.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's not like we couldn't it's not like we didn't have the money, we just couldn't get to the food.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing readily available.
In the middle of nowhere.
Some shows we want to eat till like after the show. And then you're struggling because they don't have the conveniences, like you don't have like 24-hour McDonald's and stuff like that there.
Then you're finding a Tombstone pizza maker vending machine in your hotel room, which Nate and I found once fucking 15 years ago. We're like, oh man, we're making pizza in a fucking hotel.
Yeah.
Tombstone vending machine?
Oh yeah, they exist. So it would
make the pizza?
Oh yeah. So we went to Robert Plant and the Strange Sensation in Boston, Massachusetts in 2005. I think it was 2005. And the next night we had Tom Petty tickets, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes south. So we went to the show in Boston, drove down after the show in Boston, we had a pretty good time. Our two drivers were in good shape. I was one of them. I was fine to drive. We get down to Norwood, Massachusetts, which is like right around Foxborough where the Patriots play. And Petty's playing the big outdoors amphitheater the next day. And we find a hotel that's the middle of nowhere. It's cost us nothing. We get two rooms that are adjacent where we can open the middle door, so all of us are hanging out and partying.
Oh, yeah.
And in the lobby is a Tombstone machine, a vending machine that makes the pizza for you.
No way.
It was amazing.
Pizza from a Tombstone vending machine.
We needed it, man. We definitely need. It was, it was midnight, 1 in the morning. We're all.
But what's that cost? Like $10?
No, I think it was only like $7 or $8. It wasn't bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, and worth all the money just to be in that
at the time too. Yeah,
in that state of mind, watching it unfold in front of you in a vending machine. Like, what year is it? Feels like 2025, but it's actually 2000, whatever that was, 5 or so.
Yeah, it was 5, I think. Yeah,
it was ahead of its time.
Is it baked or microwaved?
It was probably microwaved in the machine.
Okay.
Like I'm sure it came out hot. So and it was
Right.
like
Good
you get
enough.
this little guy. It was a personal pan. But
Okay.
the fact that we found a machine that made us pizza at 1 a.m, we were pretty stoked.
I bet.
All right, I just Googled it. It is definitely a thing. And it looks amazing.
It was amazing. Trust me, I was 21 years old, and we had just been, having a beer or two at a show, and then driving to where we went. Only 2 beers. Driving to where we went, and then having more beers and needing something to eat.
Yeah. No, food doesn't really taste much better than when late night and you're a little bit intoxicated and you just need something, and you find something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of technology, this is pre like DoorDash, Uber Eats.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like futuristic. I was just in the Bay Area like 2 weeks ago, and they had in SFO, they had like this coffee machine, robot machine, like making your latte for you. I'm like, I've seen this. Tom Petty show. This is old school.
Yeah, we've done this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
This is what we call Patio Slave Tangent. We just go.
We've been tangenting for a half an hour.
So hey, I did want to now these because you said Patio Slave. Where'd the name come from, and what were some other names that you guys were thinking?
Oh man, do we have any? I don't even know if we had any other names. Anthony
I love
and
that you have questions, Phil. Keep them coming, man.
Wait, I guess when you hit gold on the first one, man, here's what it is. I love the name.
We're all Rage fans. Like we kind of cut our teeth with Rage and Deftones as friends. Those are bands that we call them house bands for us. And we're also Audio Slave fans. And I was like, well, we need to come up with a catchy name that kind of fits, that also is music related, and Audio Slave being easy to change to Patio Slave. Here we are. That's how it happened.
Yeah. Nice. I saw them. We did a show with them. We had one of these where their tour, I forget who they were touring with. I want to say like Audio Slave and Stained and 30 Seconds to Mars and Seether or something. And we were on tour with, I don't know, maybe we were on tour with Stained, actually, now that I say that. I think we were on tour with Stained and POD. Either way, the 2 tours combined in Vegas to play one big show.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so when Audio Slave was coming on, I'm like, I'll probably go check out a song or two, but I'm in Vegas. I'm going to go. I was by myself. Everyone else in the race scattered by then to go gamble and stuff. And I'd already had my years before that lost a bunch of, not even a bunch of money. Lost $100 in like 5 minutes one time. So I was done gambling forever, pretty much. So I go to watch a couple songs, and I stayed the whole freaking time.
Nice.
Like I watched every single. I was like, these guys sound and just, and it was one of the cleanest stages. Like they had no amps on stage at all. I guess they all had in-ears, and so just them, and it just looked so clean and so nice. And they had like red curtains in the back, almost like this kind of a theater type deal, and they sounded so good.
Yeah.
And I'm an Audio Slave fan more so now than I was then, but I only knew pretty much a couple like the singles back then. I hadn't really dug in much then, but yeah, they were phenomenal. Did you guys assume you guys have seen them?
Yeah, 06 in Portland. Another story from, I think we've told in the pod before, but I remember they played in Portland, Maine. We're all from there. And our friend was a radio DJ at the rock radio station in Portland. And Nate and I were friends with him at the time. And I was trying to meet up with him before the show. And I call Nate, and he's not answering. And I call him like 3 times in a row. Because I'm like, where are you guys? Like, I need to find out where we're going to get food, get a beer, go to the show. He answers the last time. And all I hear is Tom Morello talking in the background. And I'm like, that motherfucker is backstage during the interview with the radio station. And sure enough, I throw the radio on because I'm in the car. And bam, Tom Morello talking to our local radio station. I was like, damn it, that's where he is. That's why he's not answering his phone.
No shit. That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Great show. Great live show. They put on, just phenomenal. We love that shit too. It's calling back to going to see shows like that as friends too. When Nate being out in California, it doesn't happen much anymore. So,
did you ever get to see Rage back in the day?
Those 2 did.
I did in 2007. So it was after their prime. It was in New York, Randall's Island, the Rock the Bells Fest, the hip hop fest. They headlined, and it was like we've talked about it on the podcast. It was like I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. It was just special. It was so magical. Yeah. And they played every song I wanted to hear. And but yeah, that was in 2007. But Nate, you saw him Woodstock 99? You saw him a bunch, right?
Woodstock 99 was the first time. Yeah. And it was I think the way you described it fits pretty well. I mean, it was like mind blowing. Like, holy shit, I'm seeing Rage Against the Machine. The only time I've seen this band live before was on VHS, similar to what I said with your band, Phil with Taproot, playing festivals, Pink Pop, Reading Festival on a VHS tape at my friend's house. His brother played him all the time on the TV, and it was like this massive, like 150,000 person crowd, and Rage just, not uncensored, just saying whatever the fuck they want, with things that's starting to resonate today, ironically. And just be like, damn. And then to see that as I think I was 15, maybe 14. I can't remember. And the Woodstock 99 show was just so legendary and just being like blown away. But I mean, the same with the Rock the Bell show, just being floored and being like, this band is more than a band. It's a statement. And in a live show, it's a liability, like everything's about to be blown to pieces. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I saw them in 90. I want to say 96. Is that when Evil Empire came out?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So we saw them on that tour, and it was at Cobo Arena in Detroit. And like before they went on, so you have your general admission, and we were up in the stands. Right before they came on, all of a sudden people are rushing to get into general admission, and people are getting pepper sprayed, and security's trying to stop them.
Wow.
But people just ran through, and most people made it through. And then the lights go off, and then Rage starts doing their thing. And it was the most intense show I've ever experienced.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, being in the stands even, I remember being in the stands, just like stomping my feet and just rocking out. But just seeing the crowd, because it wasn't like, normally, I mean, for like, bands like Pantera or whatever heavy band, you get like these pockets of mosh pits. It was a mosh pit, front to back.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anything like that, before or since, man. They were just something about their music, and especially at that time period, it was something to behold, man. And that's still to this day probably my favorite concert that I've ever been to.
That's awesome.
That's the best era for them, I think, too.
Yeah. I mean, because then you only have those two records.
Right.
You don't. It's not. So you're going to hear a lot of the songs that you want to hear.
Yep.
So their first record is my favorite by far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Second record's probably my second favorite. Third record's my third favorite. They just kind of go in that order for me. But this other band, I don't know if you know these guys, and probably my second favorite live show. And this was just in a small little weird radio. Not when I say radio festival, I don't mean a radio festival as in like your radio puts on a festival. I mean a radio festival as in all the radio stations come out to this place in Palm Springs, and they have a few bands play for them.
Oh, wow.
Like that kind of radio, like where you have like, it's like a radio personnel festival, so different DJs from around the country would come out to this thing. I forget what it was called, but there's this band, Hyro the Hero. I think it's changed to Hyro the Hero. Have you ever heard of them?
I've heard of them. I haven't listened to them yet.
So their later stuff's a little heavier and a little different. I surprisingly don't like it as much, but I want to say their first record is produced by Ross Robinson.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So, and that record is something you guys should check out. Phenomenal record.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what some of the songs might be called, but like Man in the City maybe is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Ghetto Ambience or Ghetto something. Like his lyrics are great. It's kind of a Rage Against the Machine-esque feel in that he's rapping and there's rock music, but that's about as close as that connection goes. It's definitely its own thing, and definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, they were on we did a festival episode a couple weeks, probably a couple months back now, and they were on it. I remember we talked about them briefly, having not heard them yet. So definitely, some homework for us there too.
Yeah,
man,
they haven't done a lot. Like they've done that record, and I think they did their next record was like 5-10 years later. Because that was like 2010 or 12 for us. But they had this little showcase, and they just freaking rocked the house. Their energy was just so out of this world.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
guys, I figured out how to do this. We have 2 episodes here, first of all, which is amazing, and I love it. The first episode is the history of the Taproot stuff with Phil. And the second one is just the music industry, what we like right now, and that's a whole episode. I love it. Touring stories, seeing bands, playing with bands, all that shit.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we could go another hour. I mean, it's already 12:30, right?
I'm off tomorrow. You guys have to work.
No, my phone is dying, and I should probably get to bed, man. I got to be up at like 5 or 6 in the morning.
Oh man, well we really appreciate your time tonight because you gave us a solid 2 hours, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we had a
I
blast.
appreciate you guys, man. I like your guys' podcast, man. It's good stuff.
Thanks. Thank you.
Awesome.
We appreciate that.
And I love what you guys said. You're just, 3 friends that just. So so I know I keep having questions.
No, keep them up. We're good.
How do you just start a podcast, and how do you get it on something like Spotify? Like, how does that work?
So Nate and I joked about doing it for years and years and years when he was home, and then he was getting ready to move to California, and he's like, I'll probably see more people out there. Like, let's do this. So we always had joked about doing it. And then the 3 of us started a group text just because we like sharing music stuff with each other. I don't know, 3 years ago, probably 3.5 years ago. Yeah. And at the beginning of 2020, Anthony and I went out to a brewery here in Southern Maine, and we were like joking, let's write down ideas. And we ended up just writing down a ton of ideas. And then we brought them to Nate, and we're like, hey, we're doing it. We're just going to find out a way. We're going to figure it out.
YouTube.
So ideas as in, like, guests you'd want to have, or like subjects for podcasts?
Subjects.
Or everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Subjects first, and then obviously guests as we could figure out what we wanted to talk about. And I mean, we've talked to a ton of different people in different walks of life, promoters, people who own independent record stores. Bassists have been our thing, man. You are one of 5 bassists now, but the bassists are always cool, man. Like, you have stories. You've been around it. Like, you're in the middle of all of it. The rhythm section is always badass in good bands. So it's fun to have bassists. But yeah, we just kind of brainstormed, and instead of saying, yeah, let's do that, we finally put theoretical pen to paper, and here we are.
Right. Speaking of bassists, I love what Peanut, when you guys talk, because Peanut, to me, I'm like, dude, that guy is a phenomenal bassist. What a cool dude. Yep. And then when he goes, when he talks about listening to or going to the YouTube page, cover solutions to learn songs.
Right.
I was like, what?
Yeah, Peanut. Yeah. Virtuoso bassist is like, I'm going to go learn songs.
Yeah. But I'm like, that's awesome, because I've now checked out that page now. I'm like, because, to take the time to learn a bunch of these songs on your own is, I'm not one of those guys that can just hear a song and play it. I know people that can do that. It takes me a little time to work it all out, but to know there's an option like that where I just say, I just want to learn this song. I don't want to spend a bunch of time learning this song. I just want to be able to play this song because of whatever. But I got that little tidbit from Peanut, so that's pretty cool.
Hey man, I love that you got that tidbit from Peanut talking to us, which is wild to us that we talked to Peanut. So like, the whole thing is just this crazy dream.
Well, and that's what I love. I love that you guys are finding your own thing. That's just like, because I mean, like you guys alluded to, you guys have 9-to-5 jobs. Having a passion like this where you can express yourselves, and especially around music, man, it's such an important thing to have, and to keep in your life, especially as we get older. And that, so again, I keep saying I'm going to go, but so one of my favorite things of one of our most recent tours, we did Gift front to back.
Damn.
Back in like 2013 or 14 or 12, somewhere around there. I want to say 13 or 14. And it was really cool seeing guys come out that hadn't seen us probably since like 2000 or 2001. And you can see they're not in the rock scene anymore. They're not, but for us, they decided to come out because that album meant something to them. And they came out and they just had a blast, just had a good time rocking out like they used to back, 12 years previously or whatever they first heard of us, and that was some of my favorite memories, seeing those guys come out that hadn't seen us in forever and probably didn't even know any of our other stuff, but that album meant something to them. So they were coming out regardless, hey, getting a babysitter for the kids, or hey, wife, stay home, whatever it is, I'm coming out regardless.
Yep.
Calling up their old buddies that they used to go to concerts with,
That would get us out. So if you guys decide to do 20 years of Welcome, we'll be there next year, 2022.
Right.
Even if it's a one-off, let us know where, and we'll try to make it work.
Well, we actually did. Did we do Welcome? No, we didn't. We did not.
But yeah, because that'll be 20 next year. So
yeah, you're right.
If it doesn't have to be a whole tour, but
God, it really is 2021 already, isn't it?
We're more than halfway through it. I hate to break it to you.
You kept saying that, and this guy kept tickling the back of my head. I'm like, and then you said next year's 2022. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it is insane. It actually reminds me the formation of this
reminds
podcast.
Nate of something. No shit.
It reminds me of something. It reminds me of your story, Phil, because you started the podcast, or you started the band in college. We started this podcast kind of at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was kind of similar in the sense that, like, we have our day job, you have your college course load, but you have this other thing you really want to do too. And it's kind of this perfect crossroads to launch. Because like Tone said, we had talked about it for quite a while. And it always came down to the fact, like, well, I'm not hearing this anywhere else. It's always the Spin magazine, Rolling Stone magazine, MTV, kind of generic questions. Like, we will never get the answer to these questions unless we do it ourselves. So it was like this perfect moment. Yep. So if there's any silver lining to the pandemic, it was basically just a launching point to be like, all right, let's just actually do this. Pen to paper, let's just go.
Yep.
So.
And in 19 years, we can celebrate 20 years of still being in the pandemic.
Oh, man. Yeah, right. I hope not.
Yeah, so I think we'll wrap it up there. That was quite the conversation. Phil, you were everything we wanted and more in a guest, and to kind of bring back some of those memories of growing up with Taproot, and in 2021 here we are chatting with you. It's been a lot of fun. So we definitely thank you for that. So any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Nah, just thank you, Phil.
Yeah,
man, Phil. You guys keep doing what you're doing, man. I enjoyed your podcast. I've no doubt discovered a new thing to check out every once in a while.
Or every week. I mean, you can listen to us every week if you want.
Every week? Is that what you got? Every Monday, right?
Yeah, every Monday. Yeah. Hey, just subscribe. If you don't like the topic, delete it after. That's fine.
There you go. I'll check it out. And just keep getting more bass players on.
Hell yeah, man. We love the bass player.
Awesome. Thank you.
It was great having you on, man. And just to reflect to the early part of the show, here's a photo from 2005, I believe.
This is great. This is great for the listener.
That's from 2005. So good.
There we go. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Me doing the fist.
Yeah. So me in that photo had no idea that we'd be talking about this years later, but definitely gracious to have you on, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Nice. Awesome, guys. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, man. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Phil. Right. Phil, our homie, that was awesome. And especially to just kind of like go off the cuff and just talk about a bunch of random stories like we were talking about to just kind of keep it going, keep the fire going. One of the questions that I wanted to ask during, which is why I said it was kind of an extended lightning round, was the back to school tour with Incubus and Deftones, which we didn't get to see. And the fact that he kind of gave us some long form insight on that tour was phenomenal, because we didn't get to be there. To actually hear it from one of the bands on the tour was, worth every penny. So that was fucking awesome, let alone everything else we talked about tonight. So that was really cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it was awesome. I think it's one of those things that at least for me, I don't think about a lot while listening to bands and seeing bands. Like Nate, you bring this up a lot. It's like one directional or bi-directional. In my youth, I always thought it was a one directional experience. Where I'm getting older, where it's like, no, these guys fucking live for music. That's why they're on tour. That's why they sacrifice potential income or career or time with family. And I think you got that with Phil, where it's like he's a music fan. Like he, along with the bass, the bass guitar, he learned that, toured with Taproot for years, but he's geeking out side stage watching Deftones during White Pony. He's giving us music recommendations for Nothing More, who, Phil, if you're listening, I have not checked out yet. I'd love to. I think they're on Spotify. I'll give them a listen. Yeah, it just brings it full circle.
They're in the email he sent us too.
I know. I get no excuses. Sorry, Phil, if you're listening. I get no excuses. Tone's not bailing me out here, but it's all good.
No, I haven't. I mean, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm excited to dig into that stuff. We're recording this on a Tuesday night, and I've already worked 22 hours this week, so it's been a pretty hectic couple of weeks. But yeah, I totally plan that. I made a playlist, and this is because Nate kind of called me out the other day, and I wanted to make sure, and we're tangenting again because what we do, but I made a playlist where when either of you guys recommend something, it gets tossed in there. So it's been tossed in there. It is on my list.
I got to learn from you.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But yeah, that the back to school tour and that story about Deftones losing their stuff through a snowstorm and then working with the guys from Taproot to make the show go on. That was awesome. It was just fun to hear, people helping people situation. And we said it, I think, the end of the first combo. I can't remember now because I cut it so long ago. But where we're all just people, and things happen, and you have to like adapt and make things work. And that was a totally what happened in that instance. So, and they were able to have an awesome time, play the shows, and then have a rager of an after party because they like became closer as bands and as people because of all that. That was really cool to me. I like that shit.
Yeah, and just showcasing the fact that we didn't go to that tour. I think we all wanted to, and we just didn't have our license at the time, apparently. But, I'd asked a few friends that had gone to that tour, and they said it was amazing. And just the fact that we started this podcast and we're asking the actual band about what that tour was like. I mean, we've said this before. Twan's kind of brought this up, like, ask 15-year-old me, like, that couldn't get to the tour because I didn't have a license, what that show was like. It's always like, oh, it was amazing, and too bad you weren't there. To hear it from a band member that was like, oh, it was there, and we saved Deftones because their equipment got lost in transition, kind of like me with the mic for this episode. It's like, wow. I mean, that's a story that I didn't expect, but it's also a question that I never thought I would be able to ask. So it's like, man, like, the fact that we're doing this is essentially paid its dividends in this episode alone. So it's really special. And just highlighting that one part of this second half of the interview, that was something I was kind of like hoping I'd ask on the first half, but it didn't really fit in. So as soon as Phil started kind of continuing the questions and kept it rolling, I was like, all right, it's time to bring this up, because if not, I'll never know. And it's like, I wanted to know this back 16 years ago or longer. So now's the time. And usually it's off air, but this time it was on air, and it was really cool, and that's why it's a 2-part. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and it's always cool to get answers to questions that you've had in your mind for years, and to have them engaged, because that's the thing is, like, Phil, who's not necessarily active with Taproot, it's like you don't know what you're gonna get. He could have moved on completely, you know what I mean? And I was thinking about this actually today. He remembered so much from 20 years ago. And I was thinking to myself, when I was 20 years ago, I was 15 years old. I can't remember jack shit outside of music. And
I remember it all.
You do remember it all. And that's why this works. And that's why you correct us a lot. And it's usually right.
Sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about.
Nothing to be sorry about. But no, he remembers a lot, and it kind of painted that visual in our heads, which transported us back. And great guest, Phil. If you're listening, we totally enjoyed you coming on, and I feel like maybe there's a part 3 down the road. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a part 3 down the road. And yeah, again, to echo Anthony, it's awesome to be able to ask the questions that you've been thinking about for 20 years. We've asked them in the ether in the past to the 3 of each other, but never or not as often to bands the way we've been able to do over the last year and a half. And we really appreciate everybody that's stuck around and listened to us and found a way to like be a part of this, because it's been really cool to be able to talk to people like Phil, and just go back and listen to any of our other episodes. We've had some pretty stellar guests on, and all of them have been just awesome people too. It's not just they're really good at whatever they played, whether it be guitar, bass, whatever. They've also been really kind and really awesome human beings, and that piece to me has been eye-opening. I didn't not believe it beforehand, but to get to see it in real time, as Nate would say, has been really fucking cool.
One other thought with that real quick is, when you go see a band or you listen to an album, you have no idea what happens backstage, and not in a literal sense, but just the backstage, behind the scenes, the prep, the practice, in the studio. There's training involved for a lot of bands for tours, and like if I saw that back to school tour, I would have had no idea the Deftones went through those struggles, because I'm sure they put on a good face, and as a consumer, you soak it in. You don't think about that, but we think about that stuff. So to hear the story is fucking rad.
100%. Yeah, it's just fascinating, and to document it too. Like let's say we ran into Phil post show outside by the bus, like I used to do all the time, collect autographs and whatnot. It wouldn't be documented. So I might have the story and relay it to you guys, and you'd be like, yeah, right, or like, oh, cool, that's cool, and kind of keep it between us 3. To actually record it, talk about it live, have this documented for the rest of our lives is like, it's a trip, because like we were talking about really off air, is like, no matter what happens with this podcast, this is documented for us, really, first and foremost, and for the fans, everyone that's listening, anyone that digs this kind of music, or even maybe introduced to these bands in the first place through this podcast, which would be an honor. But we're actually doing this, and it's something we kind of thought of way back in the day. And to think that there's even a medium to do this, now, and really document these things forever and capture those stories. I don't think Phil's ever told that story before. I don't think so. Maybe he has, but the fact that we got it for us, 3 guys from Maine, like other side of the country. He's from Michigan, right? So like, it's unbelievable. He might have told that story a handful of times, but it would be what I said on the beginning, which is like, yeah, I heard it from Phil, and it would just be nonchalant. This is documented. This is forever. This is like the behind the music in my eyes.
And we went for 2 hours.
Yeah.
As Nate likes to say, the JRE of music nerdery. That's what we are. If you like what you hear, consider rating us and subscribing, and tell a friend. I think the biggest thing is telling a friend that also likes music, that we are something that they'd be into. So yeah, go out and tell a friend tomorrow. If you liked this episode or the Tool episode or part 1 of Phil or Peanut or Frank Turner or whoever, go back and just tell a friend that, hey, check out this podcast. These guys, they do it right. They have fun. And it feels like I hope it feels like a conversation that you're part of as well. And I know, shout out to Chip. He said that to us in the past in email, that it feels like the listener is also part of the conversation. That's what we're striving for. We want you to feel like you're part of it. Like, hit us up, PodiouslyPodcast@gmail.com if you've got something you want to get off your chest that maybe we said you didn't agree with, or you do agree with, or in our DMs at PodiousLab on Twitter and Instagram. Well, those are open. So yeah, we really appreciate anybody that's listened to us, anybody that's going to listen to us, and tell your friends.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and to be here with you two in person is an honor, and to be able to say cheers in person is something I didn't think I would be able to say last year when we were in the height of the pandemic, and we're still going through it today, but we like to spread the positivity, and being here talking about music is a escape from the chaos going on in the world, and that's why we do it. We did it for us first and foremost, but we do it for everyone listening, and everyone that's followed us, subscribed, even listened to like even part of our episodes is a huge honor for us, just because we were always the listener and now we're actually here recording. So it's come full circle, and we're going to continue going. I think we talked about off air. There's really no reason to stop. We're probably just going to keep going until we pass away. So it's going to be awesome.
Forever.
Forever, yeah.
Well, the thing is I wish we were like live streaming tonight, because you'd see the trials and tribulations that we went through to get a full episode tonight, but it didn't happen. We tried so hard. I mean, 3 hours of dicking around with mics and setups, but
computers
mics
man. From 1975 mics from 2021, computers from 1975, iPads from 2018. Who the fuck knows, man? We had it all. Miller Lights spilled on the floor. Like, this basement had everything that you could ever not want to have happen, and we still persevere to give you at least this piece of episode.
So with that, if you've been with us since day one, if you're a 77, episode 77, well, probably episode 76, because if you heard part 1, you're jonesing for part 2. We appreciate it. We're going to be here for 177, 277. We're going to keep bringing it. So I think we're going to wrap it, guys. Any closing thoughts? We good?
Yeah, I think my closing thoughts is basically what I was saying earlier. Like, it's been an honor. We're going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. It's been real. And, man, thank you to Phil. Thanks to all the Taproot family out there. And we will see you soon. Cheers.
Peace.
Peace, podheads.
Nice.